anticipated Albion College Hall of Fame banquet. It's really not a banquet, it's a Zoom meeting that we're having. We have a number of athletes that are here today that are going to participate. We have 8 of our former athletes, ranging from early 70s to the early 2000s. And it's been my honor for a long time to host the Hall of Fame banquet when we have it in Baldwin Hall. And I'm really looking forward and exciting about being able to host the Zoom today. While we have all these great athletes on here that have got tremendous accomplishments while they were at Albion and then also afterwards, I just want to preface by saying that I was never confused with being a great athlete. I did play basketball and soccer when I was at Albion, but I think I got more splinters sitting on the bench in basketball than I ever got points. And yes, for all you folks that don't remember, we did have wooden benches back at that time that we sat on behind the bench. But today's we're going to go about an hour, hopefully, and have some questions that the panelists are going to respond to, and it should be a very enjoyable hour. It will also be able to be seen after it's over in a few hours. Emma is going to have it on the Albion College homecoming site and also on the Albion College YouTube site. So if someone isn't able to see it now and wants to see it later, they're welcome to. Let me just introduce the 8 participants. I'm going to look at it, go as they are on my screen. Dave and Marianne Ignatuk, Brian McFeely, Lance Coleman, Kathy Deck-Pashowski, Liz Hermiller-Jackson, Michael Thomas, and we're also hoping for a late entrance by Melissa Washburn, who was doing some other things earlier and hopefully going to get on here very soon. The first question, or the first kind of aspect to talk about, is for Marianne is going to talk about what it meant for her and what she remembers about the time when she was inducted into the Albion College Hall of Fame. Marianne, go ahead.
Thanks, Mike. Welcome, everyone. I was inducted in 1996, and it was really an honor, and I was very excited. I was inducted with my brother, which made it more special. My husband, Dave, and Mike Turner both think that was the only time that's been done. So that was really exciting, having a family affair. And the other exciting thing was that I had many athletes there that I was coaching. And I felt that was great for them to see women succeed in different areas and be a role model to them. I've always felt that the Hall of Fame dinner and the activities involved in that was some of the best things that Albion College has done. And I was very proud to be part of it. And hopefully to go full circle, I hope in a few years I'll get to see athletes that I coached at Albion College be inducted. So that's one of the things I'm looking forward to. Thanks.
Very, very good, Marianne. Marianne is a 1976 graduate. She participated in 3 sports when she was here: field hockey, track, and swimming. The most prominent sport was field hockey. This was pre-MIAA competition, but she competed in some all-state tournaments, and as a member of an all-state team that she was on representing Michigan against other states right shortly after graduation. Marianne became a teacher and a coach, and came back to Albion Public Schools and coached and taught for a number of years. Was a very, very successful swimming coach, won a number of league championships, had some great success at the state championship level. Her daughters were really good swimmers, state champions. She had a number of state champions. So Marianne has been involved in Albion. Then she also, when she retired from the high school coaching and teaching, she became assistant coach of swimming for the college and did the women and did an outstanding job. And so she's been a very prominent part of Albion College athletics for a number of time and for a long time. And she talked about she and her brother Gary that went in at the same day. I think, and they're the only brother-sister combination that we're aware of. But also, she and her husband Dave are the only married couple that we know that are in the Hall of Fame at the same time. Dave, have you got something you remember from your night of induction?
Well, probably the most prominent recollections I have, obviously, is being able to share it with your family. But also, I went in with Al Castle, who was a teammate of mine on our 1969 undefeated team, and was an offensive lineman and defensive lineman for us. And that was extra special. And also on that date, I went in with one of my track and field athletes, Patrick Kennel, who was a 1982 grad. So that made that extra special. One of the things that I look back on, obviously having a long coaching career at Albion College and reflecting back on my experience as a student athlete, I think really impacted how I interacted and stuff with my former athletes. I realized that I was a role model, and I look back on my former coaches, most prominently probably Tom Taylor, Bob Wickstrom, and Morley Frazier. They really cared about their student athletes more than how productive we were on the field. And, they were looking out for us, what kind of people we were turning into, making good decisions. And I think that had a tremendous impact, on me as I went forward into my coaching career at Albion College, because, they set a high bar. And I think I was always striving to, make my former coaches proud, all the way back to high school, that make them as well as my family, proud of what I, was doing. But I think, the thrill for me as a longtime coach, probably more so than when I was inducted, was to see former athletes that I knew and that I had coached or knew at Albion College that had made an impact, and see the families come back and really enjoy the moment of, the induction ceremony. And like Mary Ann said, we really felt that that's one of the nicest things, the most feel-good thing that Albion College does during the calendar year is the Hall of Fame induction. And I'll kind of leave it at that until there's some other questions or whatever.
Thank you, Dave. And I'm sure everyone knows this, but Dave grew up in the city of Albion, was a great high school athlete, came to Albion and played football and track, ran track and field and played football, was MVP of the league in 1970. He graduated in 71. Dave's famous for a lot of things. One of them is he still holds the record in the MIAA for the most carries by a running back in one game. And Dave, how many carries was that again? I know you remember. I don't remember the number. Oops, he's muted again.
Yeah, it was 49. Mary Ann's my technology wizard here. So she had
49 carries. That's twice as many as anybody ever has now. So that was really something. Then Dave also came back after graduation. He went in the service and returned to Albion and was a assistant football coach and track coach and teacher. And one of his famous lines was, "It's a great day to be alive." And there are many. And I'm looking at a couple of athletes right now who are smiling, who have heard that from him a lot of times. And Dave was a very successful athlete, but also a very successful track coach. Had a number of All-Americans, won a number of league championships as a team. And Mary Ann and Dave, Mary Ann talked about only going in with her brother, but Mary Ann and Dave again are our only husband and wife team that are in the Hall of Fame. So they've had a lot of accomplishments at Albion and then also after graduation. Is there any other panelists that would like to have a comment about what they remember from their induction?
Yeah, Mike, this is Brian.
Yeah, Brian, go ahead. Brian McFeely.
Yeah, first of all, obviously for everyone, it's a huge honor to be in the Hall of Fame. I remember the night very well. It's 2005, and we had lived in Australia for a number of years. And when we came back, it was kind of a time warp for us, Australia, and all of a sudden we're back in Albion. But I remember the night very well, where it just didn't make you reflect upon your athletic career, but also your whole Albion career and how much the school really meant to you. And I remember driving to Albion from Detroit Metro, and I had a peer in our industry call me who went to Western, quite a bit older than me, and he said, "Where are you headed?" I said, "Well, I'm headed to Albion." And what's going on there? I said, "Well, I'm being inducted to the Hall of Fame." And he goes, "That is really, really cool." And it was really good to hear that. It kind of hit me. I'm going, well, someone from the outside thought that was a really cool thing to happen. And, but probably the night for me was Dave, you remember the 77 football team was inducted the same night, which a great team. A lot of my friends went to school with a lot of those people. Hadn't seen some people in 20, 25 years. So I agree with Dave. It's a night that you really, Alvin just does a great job, but probably the biggest thing for the night had nothing to do with soccer for me. I sat down with the family with Frank Dranko at that night. And a little story, my wife Jan went to Ferndale High School, and people need to remember that's where Frank actually came from, was Ferndale High School, and taught history at Ferndale. But I remember Frank just talking about Albion, and having 15, 20 minutes with him really made the night. Actually worked with Frank when I went back to Albion to work for 3 years. And that really topped off the night for me, was just having some time with Frank. So it was just a great night for me.
Thank you, Brian. And for those that don't know, Brian is a 1978 grad, was an outstanding soccer player, first team all-league MIAA soccer player for all three of his sophomore, junior, and senior year, was the leading scorer in the league for goals 2 of those years, and has come back to, after graduation, he also coached soccer in the youth leagues in the state of South Carolina, was the coach of the year for youth soccer in South Carolina 1 year. And as he said, has been in Australia for quite a bit, but is now back living in Georgia, and has recently been named to the Board of Trustees for Albion College. And thank you, Brian, for all that you do and to help Albion become better. Does anyone else have a comment they'd like to make about this?
I'll go.
Kathy, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I got Kathy first and then Lance.
Mike, I think also weighed in. Do you want to go first, Mike?
You
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Ladies
Go
first.
ahead.
Ladies first. Ladies first.
Boy, you learned well, Mike. I appreciate that.
Mine's brief. I was inducted at the same time that Mary Ann was, and I can't explain it. I was kind of like Brian is stating, blown away. I didn't think I could get an award like a Hall of Fame. And I think the fact that Albion offers that, now that I've left and I put it on my CV with all the things I do as a career, people are pretty impressed when you're the Hall of Fame from your college. So it's a great opportunity for student athletes to have, because there's a lot of work we put in juggling all those sports and pre-med kind of career. But one of the things I'll briefly say is, it was the last time I saw Pete Schmidt, who was my head coach for 3 years and had a big impression on me, just like Dave did. Outstanding coaching support with the types of professors that we worked with was just wonderful. And the fact that I got to see them again at the Hall of Fame dinner in person made a big difference, that some of my teammates were there. But the funny thing was I didn't know Mike Turner very well at that time, because our basketball team, women's basketball, was always competing for the floor in Kresge Gym and Mike was always this very intimidating coach. And so the women's team would just get off the floor and move on. And so I had to, for my speech, reach out to all the other inductees that night to pulled from things that they had learned. And I learned what a different person Mike was than my impression as an athlete. He was very kind and supportive of female athletics. And it was just a wonderful experience to hear everybody else's that night, what they had experienced as college athletes. Thanks.
Well, Kathy, don't believe everything you read. And remember, your first impression is usually an accurate one. So I hope not in this case. But Kathy is a 85 graduate. She has 11 letters that she earned, 3 in basketball, 4 in volleyball, and 4 in track. Her senior year, she was captain of all 3 of the sports. Her best sport was track and field, where she was first team all MIAA for 3 years. She did the discus, the javelin, and also the 400-meter hurdles. In 1985, she was an All-American first team as she finished 6th, and she is currently a physician in sports medicine in the state of Virginia. Liz, did you have your hand up on this question you want to say something to? You need to unmute, Liz.
I think Mike was next. So go ahead, Mike.
No, Mike learned. Women first. Go ahead, Liz.
Okay, well, I will say I was honored to be inducted in 2013. And what was super special about that night is that our entire women's soccer team was also inducted that night. So it was such a joy to just reconnect with our teammates, and it was like no time had passed. And similar, I had to gather some information for a speech as well. And the funny thing is, I had a hard time remembering like what we even won or how many we won, if we were undefeated, but I was remembering our pasta parties and our, late night painting the rock, and some of the, the Halloween get-togethers where one of the Mrs. Yeager's, made all the Halloween costumes for us. So those were kind of the memories that flooded back. But just reconnecting with that group was just amazing. So it was really special that I was inducted, but as well our entire team.
Good. And Liz is a graduate of Albion 2002, was a soccer star as a midfielder. She led us her junior and senior year to league championships, were the first 2 women's soccer league championships that Albion had. Was an All-American in 2001, in the fall of 2001, and was a biology major and earned an academic All-American honors and a post-grad scholarship from the NCAA, and is currently a physician's assistant and still active in sports and soccer. Okay, Mike Thomas, it's your turn, buddy.
No, I just want to say, mine was pretty memorable, Coach. We were loaded. My family was there. We had a lot of people there, right?
Yes, you did.
Can you remember how many people were there? I don't know.
Of your family, I remember there were a bunch, and I remember seeing a picture just today of you, your mama, and your grandma at the Hall of Fame with you there, and that brought back a lot of memories for me today also, Mike.
And it just, just an honor to be able to just kind of in your playing careers with such a great reward. It kind of took back memories from when my grandma, you talked about my grandma. My grandma kind of invested in putting a rim on our garage. And, that just kind of took me all the way back to when I first started playing, to be able to, in that type of career, have that type of career and to be able to be honored by Albion College was just amazing. I don't know if you remember, but that was like the last time my grandmother she doesn't really like to leave the house, but that was like the last time she's kind of left the city of Saginaw. She likes to stay around the house, and that's a memorable moment for my family. Like Mrs. Egnetuck said, I thought that was a great night to be a great example for my family, my sons, my cousins, my mom. Not many people in our family had kind of had that type of reward. And so it was a great representation for the Thomas family that night. And it was just a joy to have. So.
Thank you, Mike. That's very good. Mike is a 2006 graduate of Albion, a basketball star. He was in both 2003 and 2005. They won the league championship. He was a three-time first-team All-MIAA performer. And Mike had many highlights, but one that most of us remember is a nearly half-court shot at the buzzer in the NCAA sectional game against John Carroll University that somehow went in the basket. We had no time left. We were down by 2. Fortunately, a guy for John Carroll missed a free throw, and Travis Dupree got the rebound and threw it to Mike, and Mike thought he'd make a shot, and we win by 1. And Mike's coach was out of it so much that he thought it was a tie and went down to say to the congratulations to the other coach. Looks forward it looks like we're going into overtime. So that's my memory of that shot, Mike. Not quite the same as your memory of that same shot, but Mike also has had great success as a coach. He's been at 4 or 5 places as a coach. Kalamazoo Central was his first head coaching experience, and he when he was there 4 years. He had 1 runner-up and 2 state championships in Class A, and then came back to Albion College as an assistant basketball coach for the men, and now is in his 3rd year, I think, Mike, at Grand Blanc High School, and everybody else better watch out in the state. I think he's got a chance to win a state title again this year to go with the other 2 he already had at Kalamazoo College. Nobody's putting any pressure on you, Mike, but this is going to be an exciting year for you, and let's hope everything works out very well. And I know your grandma's proud of you, and your mom and dad are proud of you, but so is your old coach. So congratulations for being in the Hall of Fame.
Thanks, Coach.
Anyone else want to comment on this question?
Hey, Mike, this is Ron Lassard.
Yes, Ron.
Yeah, the one thing that I wanted to point out from the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies that I thought was probably the most valuable thing or most impressive thing is when you did the presentations, and as you've done them over the years, there was as much time spent on what people did outside of college and with their careers. And you really talked a lot about how the liberal arts experience helped everybody advance in the careers. You've already mentioned one doctor on here. So it was great to see the accomplishments outside of the athletic field in the careers. And I think all of us give a great deal of credit to the coaching staffs and our teammates for helping us to be able to get it across the finish line in our careers as well. So to me, that was the most memorable part, was just watching everybody else's accomplishments, saying, damn, I was a slacker when I was at Albion and what everybody else did. So that was what I thought was really impressive about this event. It's a lot of focus on after college and after sports.
Great. Thank you, Ron. I appreciate that. That's very accurate. A question that I would throw out is, what role did athletics play for you in your career after Albion? And Marianne and Dave have already talked a little bit about that. Lance, how about you talking a little bit about what role athletics has played in your career?
First, I want to talk about the Hall of Fame banquet ceremony.
Go ahead.
And I was fortunate enough as a student athlete my junior year to attend. I think it was the first one. And the impression that was left upon me was by Mike Stone. Mike, you probably remember the name. I know Dave does. But he was a president or vice president for Texas Rangers. You know, on that actual day, he'd been let go by the Rangers. But he showed up to accept his induction into the Hall of Fame and was the speaker for the group. And it left a real big impression upon me that his Albion College experience meant that much to him that he could, in maybe one of his worst days, stand up there and with pride talk about what he had experienced at Albion and how it had prepared him and put him forward in life. So that left an impact upon me as a student with, a couple more seasons in football and track remaining to try to be the best I could be on the field, on the track, but also as a person. So that's what sticks out about that ceremony to me. My particular induction night was great. I had my best friend of since we were 5. We went in together, and turns out that day, October 13th, is my youngest son's birthday now. So it's a special day. God made it a special day and continues to make it a special day. But
Great.
Albion's athletics and the impact it's had on me post Albion. I've been fortunate at Albion to have some coaches that have been great coaches, great leaders, and really have an impact on who I am. Coach Egnetuck, and Kathy spoke about Coach Schmidt. You know, beyond my father, those two guys have had some of the greatest impact on me and formulating me as a human being. Then watching you and getting to know Morley, Frazier, watching Craig Rundo, and then Frank Jurenko. Those guys, you know, now as a head coach, the bar is set pretty high, and may never achieve what all you have done, but I see the path, and I see the blueprint of what a coach who makes an impact on the X's and O's, but more importantly, who people will be once they leave Albion College, once they go out into the world and make an impact. So I think just being around those coaches, whether they coached me or watching them coach and watching them be mentors for student athletes, has had the biggest impact on me in my post Albion career. I mean, watching you watch Mike have that success is really a great feeling. And, you know, I try to convey that to my student athletes. Like I saw one yesterday, he graduated a couple years ago. He's doing really well. And I told him, this means more to me than you being a league champ or you being All-American. And so I think my experience as an undergrad at Albion with the coaches, but also faculty, has had that kind of impact upon me.
Great. Thank you, Lance. And Lance is a 91 graduate. He ran track for Dave and played football at Albion. He did both. Had a lot of success at both sports, probably more success in track as he was a 2-time MVP of the MIAA in track. He was a 2-time All-American, first-team All-American in the 100-yard dash. And for a long time. Do you still have that record, Lance? Give me a thumbs up if you still have the 10.5 record. Oh, thumbs down. One of your guys got him, or Dave, one of Dave's guys. But and Lance was also a part of and starter on Pete Schmidt's first 2 years as league champions in football in '89 and '90, and as the running back. And he's currently the head coach of our track and field program, our indoor track, our outdoor track, and overseas cross country. So he's got a pretty full plate and is doing an outstanding job, and very happy that Lance is a part of Albion College and in our athletic department. Is there anyone else out there that wants to comment on their evening at the Hall of Fame? Kathy, go ahead again.
Not the evening at the Hall of Fame. I thought you asked about what was unique about an athlete and experience at Albion.
Sure.
Is that okay if I speak to that?
That's great. Now's
Okay.
a good time.
Okay, so for me, my career was sports medicine. When I came into Albion, I wanted to be a physician because I knew I was like Mike. I wasn't good enough to go to the Olympics and get a gold medal. So help other people become that way. One of the things I found that Albion gave to me, which is a little different twist, we all talk about how athletes, everyone on the call that's a high-level athlete, Hall of Famer, you know, we have that desire, and the Albion students are challenged. But my coaches and my professors have been integral to my character. And one of the things that I try to think of every time I make a choice or work with a team or sit on a board is how can I represent myself well for Dave, for Pete, for Frank, for Morley, for the people that really instilled in me how to be balanced in how I choose things, how to make the right choices. And because my career is sports medicine, I ran into Cedric Dempsey because I'm a Division I team physician and he's worked with the NCAA. And so Albion out in Richmond, I'm in North Carolina right now at the Outer Banks, but you've seen Albion license plate out here. And the warm feeling that you get when you realize a small liberal arts school, and yet it's all over the place, and these people have achieved at a high level. So I find that it directly impacted my career. It made me better at understanding coaches when I'm working with my Division I athletes. It made me better understanding my patients when I've got my above knee bilateral amputee running the Ironman in Hawaii and finishing. That it doesn't have to be those records that we see and that go away in our college years. It's what we take with us. So it's really impacted me greatly at my experience of being a Division III athlete and going there for pre-med. So thank you for letting me say that. I think Wash is on.
Yes, Wash is on. Melissa, can you hear me?
What
Melissa?
name did you just call? Yes.
Okay, I'm looking for you on my screen. There you are, Melissa. And I don't know when I know you were involved with some other homecoming activities, but would you like to comment about your experience at the night of the Hall of Fame induction?
I'm going to say hello to everybody, and I recognize many faces. I've been to several of the Hall of Fame, and just very proud to represent Albion as an athlete and as a teacher, a coach, official. And I spread the word. I think I'm most proud when my mother and my sister and I are in the Hall of Fame, and that's a pretty neat thing, is to have a sibling and a parent who led the way for me. So
That's more than pretty neat, Melissa. That's really exciting, and it's really amazing. Melissa is a 1981 graduate. That was before the MIAA had sanctioned women's athletics as part of the MIAA. So she was a 3-sport star of field hockey, basketball, and softball. She captained all 3 teams. She was one of the all-time best women athletes we've ever had at Albion. She continued, as she mentioned, to be a teacher and a coach. She was able to be a high-level field hockey official, both in the Mid-American and in the Big Ten level. Did some national tournaments also in field hockey officiating, and still comes back to Albion quite often. She is also the scorer for the women's basketball team. Does the scorebook many years, and Melissa's been a really strong person to be a supportive of Albion College. And Walsh, we're happy that you're able to get on today.
well, you know, most people don't know my first name, so.
Yeah, that's right. When somebody said Walsh is on, I had to think for a minute, which does she really have a first name? And it is, yes. Melissa. Pretty happy that we both remember that, Wash.
Yeah, yes. I'm only,
how about,
I get that when I'm in trouble.
Okay, very good. Is there anybody that would like to make a comment about why they came to Albion, or how that worked out?
Sharduff.
That's Wash again, and that's a really good comment. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Sharduff and then Frank Jurenko, what wonderful mentors to have. I think they epitomize the Division III athlete, and I would love to see that back again within our coaches. It's liberal arts, so I taught them a bunch of things, and some of the 8th grade. I think it just made me a much more well-rounded person. I took some of your basketball classes. I took foundations. I still remember running at 9 o'clock in the morning and thinking it's a great day to be alive. So,
yep.
How do you say that every single morning? But it was a place where I could play, and I wanted to play, and I was lucky enough to play 3 different sports and have 2 wonderful mentors in Frank Jurenko and Sharduff, and they need to be mentioned all over the place in the NCAA, because they were truly pioneers in their field.
I agree wholeheartedly. And they were both mentors for you, but me also. Anyone else want to talk about anything unique of their decision to come to Albion?
Mike, I was with the Royal Oak Dondero, and as you know, that was, I'll call it the home of George Martin, class of
Yes.
'53, who unfortunately passed away this year. He brought many, many athletes to Albion College, the Cars, that are both in the Hall of Fame. Steve Taylor, I'm probably missing some others, but there's several very good student athletes that came from Dondero, and we came because George Martin brought us to Albion College, and we watched one of your games, Mike. He always brought us that basketball season, and we watched the Britons play basketball, and then we divided up and went and saw prospective coaches and professors and spent the day there. And I know Steve Taylor and I came to Albion together in that car, along with with a basketball player who ended up going to Spring Arbor. But Steve and I both decided in the car that day that we were going to Albion College, and he was going to go to Central to play baseball. So that was a great experience from a great man. And as a side note, Frank Jurenko coached my uncle in Ferndale High School the year they won the state title, and then he jumped ship and went to Albion.
Well, and George and Frank were best of friends. They had a tremendous relationship, and they were best of friends from both being there in Ferndale and Royal Oak. Thank you, Ron, for adding that. Any of the other?
I'll go.
Go ahead, Brian. Was that you, Brian?
No, it was Mike.
Yeah, I think it was Mike.
Okay. Okay, Mike. Go ahead.
I just think mine was just kind of, as I reevaluate and just go back to that decision, it was kind of on faith, Coach. I had never heard of Albion. Funny, I had never heard of it. I did have this dream of playing high-level basketball, and I think a lot of athletes need to hear this. But sometimes you just ain't good enough, right, Coach?
I kept trying to make you good enough, Mike, but I wasn't a good enough coach to make you good enough for that.
No, well, before I came to you, you got to, come to realization, and I think I came to that. I come from Saginaw High, a high-level athletic town. Play with a number of different high-level athletes, professional athletes who ended up being professional athletes, and
yep.
I just coming through that program and coming up that way, it taught you how to grind, how to not make excuses and things like that. And so I thought Albion was kind of similar when I got on campus. It was kind of similar as far as like, hey, you're going to get what you earn. You're going to get what you earn. You're going to have to work hard for all the things that you want. And those are some of the things that led me to make that decision. It only took one day. It came down to visit you guys. Had a nice day. Didn't realize how beautiful the campus was. Didn't realize we had black squirrels on the earth, but it was pretty good. And then, the food was pretty good that day. The open gym was really good. And then I just remember going home. Remember making that left on off of Hannah. I mean, not left, but right, going towards the highway. And I just kind of looked at my dad and said, "Hey, this is where I want to go." He's like, "You sure?" And we didn't have very much money, but he just said, "Hey, we'll make it work." And it was probably one of the best decisions I've made in my life, to get me through to where I am. I just kind of stepping off on faith and figuring things out in life is, I think Albion has helped me do that right now. So yeah, it's good.
Thank you, Mike. You just warmed my heart pretty good right there. You also need to remember your dad was a part of that also. Not only did he drive you down, you made me happy when you made that decision, but you made your dad happy also. That was a great decision. Did someone else have a comment on that?
Yeah,
Brian?
Okay. Yeah, just look, I mean, all of us, you're 18, do you want to go to big school, mid school, small school? And I lived in Ohio at the time, so knew quite a bit about Albion, but I got accepted. It was called Pro Man back then, and so I could have a combination of the the economics and business and also sports. And, you know, at 18, it's a tough choice because, you know, if you're an athlete sometimes and you want to go play, you know, maybe at a bigger school, but at that time I thought the combination between, you know, small school, you know, really good academics and having the ability to play. And at that time, you know, we got to play some of the bigger schools. You know, we played Michigan State and Central and Western and so forth, you know, the Division I teams. So it was a fun time to play. We got our butts kicked, but you know, that was okay at the time. But you know, and 4 years later, you know, that special sauce, whatever Albion does to you, it was certainly the right decision for me.
Thank you, Brian. And you passed up a lot of very good colleges in the state of Ohio to come to Michigan and make a good choice. So we're all very happy that you made that good choice. Is there someone else? Kathy.
So I am from Sanford, which used to be on a lake, if you guys are all familiar with Michigan history. And it's north of Saginaw, and it is not an athletic powerhouse. And I had never really known much about the suburbs around Detroit. So when I came to Albion, I was this farm girl kind of person, and I had to really fit in. And what I found was that freshman year, the community, the connectivity, the sorority, the team members, the people that I had in all my teams, the community and the personhood they helped me with to feel fit in was one. But the other side of it was the pre-med program. Even out here in Virginia, I have just never seen the amount of work our professors and the school did to make sure we got what we needed. We're set up well for medical school. So when I looked at the campus, I'd never heard of Albion like Mike either. And I said, I want to do something different. I love all three sports. I can't give one up. I'm never going to be good enough to be at one sport. So what can I do to keep my love of the sport and keep driving forward in my career? And Albion was that perfect fit. I can say that the little personal level, when you're in a small school like liberal arts, they like you a lot. The professors get to know you by name. And one of my sorority sisters told me, Dr. Danini is one of my still longtime friends that I speak to in chemistry. If you're going to be a chem major, Catherine, make sure you show up for your 8 a.m. classes, because they will call you in your dorm room and wonder why you are not in class, because you're supposed to be getting your academics at the same time. And I took that to heart. I never got called. I didn't make every class, but I never got called.
Well, that's a good story, and your education has certainly paid off very, very well for you. Is there anyone else? Liz, go ahead.
I would like to tag on to, I'll tag on to that, because I actually have a little bit different story. I didn't go to Albion thinking I was going to play a sport. I chose Albion basically because of the tour I had there and how welcoming and warm. And I was super interested in pre-med and still at that time looking at PA school versus going to med school. And they just, you know, they said, this is a great liberal arts program. We're going to be able to, you know, I know the PA down in Homer and you could do a rotation with her. And it was just like immediately I felt welcomed in. And then as I'm walking around, I'm thinking, maybe I could play soccer here too. So it was a little bit opposite for me. And now here we are. So I also think Albion does an amazing job focusing on the student athlete. My coach always talked about how it's student athlete. And so you were at your 8 a.m. classes, you were in your labs, you know, that sort of thing. And there was no exception. The student part of it came first, the athlete part came second. I thought they did a really great job at balancing those two and making you a well-rounded individual, because the athletics, you know, it's a great part. It was like team building, and I learned so much from my teammates and even managing different personalities. And that kind of takes you through all the experiences you have in your life too, whether it's at work or with your family or different dynamics. So I appreciate all the experiences I had as a student.
Great, thank you, Liz. And Liz, I just noticed, and I've been looking at your picture for a long time, you're on my screen. I just noticed over your right shoulder, the A Club blanket. Yep, that's something that's awarded to each of the athletes their senior award for their letter. And that's nice that you still have yours. Lance has just got a few of his plaques that he won behind him. Where are all the rest of your awards, Lance, other than the 50 that you've got on the wall behind you?
I'm in my office, Mike.
Oh, okay.
Those
Well,
are all mine.
I thought those were all just yours. Is there, how about, does anybody else have a comment about their time at making a decision to come to Albion?
Yeah, I always heard about Albion being a great place. My parents are both educators, and there were some people my parents had taught who had gone to Albion and were successful at Albion and after, so that had a big impact on me. He was a football track guy who coached in football, on track and football. My father was his principal, and he had spoke highly of Albion, so that kind of was an in with my parents. And then I visited, like a number of you all had said, and I fell in love. It was a size campus I wanted. It wasn't this big place like Michigan State. It was welcoming, and I could play both sports. So that really sold me on it. And then probably the cherry on top was I could beat up on Hope and Calvin. I come from Grand Rapids. Don't like them now. Never liked them. And the chance to pound them into the dirt every time I got really was something I liked the chance to do. So I think that's why I chose Albion, and still I'm here.
Mike, I think Lance has to tell us exactly what he thinks about those schools. Huh?
Yeah, try not to beat around the bush, Lance. Just kind of come up.
It's being recorded, so I can't tell you.
Okay. Thank you very much. In the last little bit of time we have left, is there someone that would have some advice that they have for current students about how to end their career both academically and athletically at Albion?
Yes.
Okay.
Currently, Leanne, the softball coach, has a mentoring program, and it was a couple weeks ago we saw the team, and they had just had a little scrimmage, and I am to mentor three students, and I think it's a wonderful program, and I think other coaches could latch on to that. But just getting to know them right now, and then hopefully giving them some life advice on after Albion. And that's one of the perks of a liberal arts school, is that you can do that and keep coming back and saying hello to folks. And that's one of the reasons I come back to Albion, besides the basketball team. I have one of my former students, I'm hoping, from Lansing Eastern is there this year. And I just like to see some familiar faces. And I'm just going to tell you one story. It was probably my sophomore, junior year. We always opened up at Notre Dame in field hockey. And I got tired of warming up, and I went over to the big stand, and there was Dan Devine up there on the scaffolding, and he was coaching. And then I walked over a player and I said, "Can I get your autograph?" And Montana goes, "Where in the hell is Albion?" So I had to tell him what we were, but where we were. And then we beat Notre Dame and came home. So just like a couple other, we did play against some of the larger schools. Sometimes we won, sometimes we lost. But back in the day, it was a pretty good thing. And I'm hoping that with these new mentees that I can give them some good advice. I'm still in contact with one of my old mentees, and she is in Washington, D.C. working now. So.
Well, thank you, Wash, and thanks for setting Joe Montana straight on where Albion is.
Yes.
I'm sure he remembers that now, and that's really good. Liz, I see your hand up.
Yeah,
Liz, you want to make a comment?
I would just recommend. Yes, I would just recommend to use your Albion connections, kind of, like what was said before, is Albion becomes a pretty small world. And I had a student athlete reach out to me last fall before everything, but asking if she could come shadow in the hospital, which I get a lot as a PA because you need a certain amount of shadowing hours. She was the captain. She was, you know, doing really well in lacrosse and very interested in PA school. And when you have those Albion connections, I think it's great to use that. And as an Albion alum, I love doing that, is bringing some of, you know, the people I know going to Albion or recently graduated and kind of helping them get the next step up.
Great, thank you. Yes, Kathy.
I'd like to second Liz on that. I'm always happy to have somebody shadow me as COVID allows. And in the past, we've had shadowers. But I want to take a different spin on it. I came from Sanford. It's not a big place. And Albion, even though I didn't think I could afford it because I looked at a lot of other MIAA schools, they find a way to help you through the nice donations the alumni give and other merit pieces that come into it, funding. So if any young people or parents are looking to this, just know that you should check it out and talk to admissions and take the next step. And I was not paid for that. The second thing I want to make a point of is when you think about your college years, I have such a hard time with my athletes and the intensity of parents trying to have athletes be single sport athletes because they're all thinking they're going to get that one scholarship to the Division I school. But we know that cross training and multiple sports makes you a better athlete. And we're trying to get that word out. So at Division III, you can do more than one sport and be extremely competitive and go to NCAA finals. So if you take a sport and you only do one and you don't do that cross training, some of these athletes later on don't find they're active at 50. So I think it's important to look at Division III, not just for student athletic, but to the fact that you can continue your love of the game for many years because you cross train by doing different sports.
I think that's, Brian, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just real quick, Mike.
Thank you, Kathy, that's fabulous.
I think that was fantastic, Kathy. But when you're on campus, I would just urge everyone to enjoy every second that you're there and take advantage of everything that Albion gives you. You can't go back and change your performance. You can't go back and change any score, but you live with it the rest of your life, and you have a lot of friends that you're going to keep a long, long time. And but just take advantage of everything that Albion gives you.
Great. Unless someone has another comment, I think that's a great way for us to end this hour.
I do.
Go ahead. Yes.
Brian, I hear you're on the board of trustees. Is that true?
Should I say yes or no, Wash?
Would you bring back the phys ed major, please? Not sports matter that, but phys ed, because I think we need to have bring that back. The phys ed.
Thanks, Wash.
But it's wonderful to see everybody.
I just want to say thank you to all the participants and the people that watched. As I've said earlier, it is going to be on the Albion College Homecoming website in a couple hours, and it is going to be on the Albion College YouTube station. But the participation has been wonderful. The response has been great. Thank you very much again, and look forward to the fall of 2021 being able to have it in Upper Baldwin again. Thank you.
Hey, Mike.
Yes.
It's a great day to be alive and a great day to be a Brit.
It is a great day to be a Brit, Dave.
Student athlete, whatever. It's a
And
great day to be alive.
Dave, I haven't found any days that aren't a great day to be a Brit.
Every day is.
Yeah.
Every day is.
Yeah, and especially when Lance beats Hope and Calvin. So
that's right.
Keep it going.
And
again,
basketball and any sport out there.
Anything.
Thanks again to everybody.
Thank you, Mike.
Go Brits to all of you.
Go Brits.
Go Brits.